I won. I finally played his game, and I won in less than 10 seconds. This guy has been terrorizing the neighborhood for 15 years. He likes to get wasted and harass people and provoke him. This is his little game. We moved here 6 years ago, and yeah, he did like to roam around drunk AF, but he never was focused on anyone. It was sort of an aimless, collective harassment of the neighborhood. Until it wasn't. He set his sights on me the week before Halloween. Ooh, good timing. I found an unattended child in my backyard. A child so young he was still wearing diapers. It was puzzling, and I tried to figure out where this child came from, who was responsible for said child, etc. When I went outside, there was a woman in scrubs, and I made the connection that this child is definitely her responsibility. How frightening would that be to find a child without its parents just sitting there? I'd go in emergency mode. I tried to communicate with her. She completely ignored me, and then a war broke out. One of her adult sons decided that because I tried to talk to his mother, and that because I'm a race which he decides he doesn't like, that he can harass me. Hate it. Hate it already. And he has, at least once a week, every week, but sometimes 3 times a week since October. I've called the cops so many times, and they do nothing, which is surprising since I've come to find out he had 7 warrants out for his arrest for being drunk in public, a previous conviction for battery, a pending charge for another battery, and a petty theft. The list is long, but they would never arrest him when they got called out. Super weird. I wonder if he's the type of person that can get away with murder, basically, if you know what I'm saying. If you're picking up what I'm putting down. A few weeks ago, he started to harass me again. My husband went outside and this mofo pulled out a Bowie knife with a 10-inch blade and chased my husband with it. Okay, so you guys lived an actual horror story. We called the cops again. They said he's allowed to have a knife. Why, though? If he has all these warrants out for his arrest, how is he allowed to have a weapon? Something's weird about this. It feels like he's like in with the police, or he knows somebody, or I don't know. This guy should be in jail. I've called the cops on this maniac at least 10 times. He's threatened me, stalked me, tried to rob my Walmart delivery driver. That's, by the way, a terrifying job, just delivery drivers in general. Shout out to you guys, because that can get scary. He's going too far, but the cops do nothing. So the last time I called, when he pulled out a knife, I said, so he's allowed to sit out in the front of my house and scream and yell, so that means I can do the same to him? That's a great idea. And the officer was like, yeah, but I really don't want you to do that. And I said, well, you guys won't arrest him, so I mean, give him a taste of their own medicine, I guess. And then it happened. He came yelling and screaming. I recorded him with my phone. Good. We tried to ignore, but he wouldn't go away. I finally said, F it. I'm gonna go scream and yell at him. My husband said no, but I did it anyway. Get it? I mean, nothing else is working. The police that are there to help you are failing you. I went outside front of his house and gave him the exact same treatment he'd been giving me for 6 to 7 months. It took all of 10 seconds for him to respond with violence. Ooh, that backfired. He came after me with a 2x4. My husband was still at our house watching from across the street. He saw this and he rushed over, thank God. He physically brought him to the grass area, not the concrete driveway, and the guy bopped him on the head with that 2x4. Oh, shit. So my husband wrestled him to the ground. I picked up the 2x4. When my husband had him pinned down, he looked at him, told him to stop with my wife, and went home. I followed him with the weapon in my hand. Bad. A neighbor called the cops. Long story short, asshole was arrested. Finally. Well, I'm sorry that it took that amount of effort and danger for you guys to have something be done about him. That's unbelievable. He was getting away with way too much and was like racially charged. That in itself should have put him in jail immediately, but this is the world we live in. Apparently, he had a ton of pending charges, all of which he never went to court for. He only spent 6 days in jail, but those were all previous charges. He hit my husband over the head, and that was an assault with a deadly weapon. Opie, I hope your husband's okay. That should have been the police taking that guy down, not you guys. You had to do sort of a citizen's arrest type situation, and you shouldn't have had to do that. It turns out he had a ton of pending charges way before this incident. He had to deal with those. He now has another battery charge and petty theft that he pled not guilty to from years ago. He has to go to AA, and he's on probation for a year, and he hasn't even been charged yet for the assault with the deadly weapon. Good. I was going to ask, did they only give him probation for this? But sounds like he's got his coming. Life's been peaceful and quiet. He sees us, and he turns and walks away. Good job, you guys. Something he should have been doing all along. It's funny how people know how to do the right thing, and they just continually choose to raise hell. And I know he's on probation, so it's only a matter of time before he gets drunk again. And if he's drunk, I'm gonna get his ass arrested for violating his probation. Good, stay on him. It's sad that you guys have to, though. You should be comfortable in your home and in your own neighborhood. It's really upsetting that one person can ruin so much of your home life. And it's not even in your control whatsoever. Although you guys did take good control of this. He's been on his best behavior. All it took is me giving him his own treatment back to him for 10 bleeping seconds, and he couldn't handle it. I've been dealing with it for 7 months, and it's not over yet. They finally held him accountable for everything before, and there's more to come. It's been nice and quiet around here. Good. Yeah, I don't understand why he wasn't in jail this entire time, but I know there's space issues in jails, and they're going to come up with every reason why they didn't do the right thing. Someone wrote this, and I was wondering the same thing. The baby plotline just disappeared. I kind of glossed over that. From what I gather, just by observation, the child is the drunk guy's nephew. Terrible uncle. The whole adult family lives in this house. Mom and dad, 60s, 2 brothers, and drunk guys all in their 40s. So this is perpetuating throughout the family and totally condoned because no one else was trying to stop this. Little baby boy is the son of the oldest brother. According to Facebook, oldest brother and baby mama still together and engaged, but don't live together. They wrote, maybe Catholic? And I guess the drunk guy is the child's babysitter while both mom and brother are at work. Okay, well, here's when Child Protective Services should come in. I hope and pray you or someone called for that. You cannot be babysitting drunk. Just saying. This particular day, the mother, Alicia, was supposed to be watching him, and apparently she wasn't very interested in doing that because the little baby boy was in the middle of the street. Holy shit. Yes, you read that right. A baby in diapers in the middle of the street. Oh, I hate this. She didn't even look up from her phone. Then he ran into another neighbor's house and was rummaging through their cupboards and things, and my neighbors don't know them at all. Oh, I hope he wasn't starving or needing food or anything. That sounds like he was trying to get some sustenance. Then they made their way to my house, and the little boy ran into my backyard, somehow got past my gate, and luckily my dog didn't notice because my dog is unfriendly, and he got up on my swing set. Oh, Lord. The whole time, Grandma's supposed to be watching him. She's staring at her phone. I rewound my ring and saw this on the motion sensor. There's proof for CPS right there. That is when one of the neighbor kids came to my front door and said, "Excuse me, there's a little kid in your backyard." So I go look, and yep, sure is. So I say, "Hey, buddy, we aren't playing back here right now. Let's go back out front." And he just bounces up and down happily. Understandable, he's a baby. So that's when I go to look for the adult who belongs to this child. She is staring at her phone. I see this sadly a lot with babysitters. The phones just absorb us, and there's humans that need to be watched right in front of them, and everyone's just so absorbed in their phones. I address her politely, and she straight up ignores me like a ghost. She won't even look at me. So I'm standing there like, WTF do I do? Luckily, my husband was home and rounded up the dog. I go back and forth a few times, and she finally acknowledges me. I tell her, "Please remove your child from my yard because my yard isn't currently suitable for playing right now." She does not comply. It took a lot more cajoling for her family to finally call him down from the swing set. I tried to talk to the neighbors. They didn't know her either, so I then called my good friend, who's also a neighbor, and she came out to try to speak with her because she's bilingual. As soon as someone started speaking to her in her first language, she scurried off and went home. That is the first time I realized she was a neighbor, which definitely made me feel better, but still, odd situation. So later, my husband and I were like, that was so weird. Why wouldn't she look at me? And he was like, I want to know how that little baby got past our gate. I was like, OMG, I hadn't thought of that. That is a good question. So I went over there to try to explain to her that I have a dog back there and maybe it's not a good idea to have a baby in diapers in the middle of the street or running into people's houses you don't know or running into backyards with territorial dogs. And you want to know what? Blank stare from her. Zero given. And that's when I said, okay, tell you what, you want to play this game with me? The next time your grandson ends up in my backyard, I'll simply call the police and tell them there's an unattended child in my backyard. And that's when the drunk decided to start harassing me. Oh my God, so you did the right thing and you get harassed for trying to save this child that's completely helpless. And you know what? I bet if your dog had attacked that child, you guys would be the ones in trouble for it, unfortunately. And it's nothing to do with your fault. I do recommend calling CPS right away next time that happens and the police. But Opie, great story. I'm so sorry you went through this. Sounds like you handled it very well despite the violence. But I'm glad that everything's calmed down and the police are finally doing something about it. It's sad that it took that much, but here we are. Thanks for your story, Opie.